The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. What do we do here? We report the news, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We make commentary, which is not the news. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. The Wells Report in progress on Fishing Shirt Friday. Got your fishing shirt on? Yeah, we're gonna be clinging to the Fishing Shirt Friday for the next couple of months. It's gonna start, believe it or not. I know after a summer like this, it's hard to believe, but sooner or later, it's going to start cooling off. Oh yes, that's right. Doggone it! No. The incredible Dirk Steele, the world's greatest executive producer, has pointed out something for me, and that is that I forgot to update the date. So let's update the date, shall we? Let's see, it's Friday, September 29th, and I normally do that, and doggone it, it fell out of the solution set this morning. See? Now everything's perfect-ish. That's the way things work. It's time for us to start rolling with the broadcast, so time now for this morning's front page for September 29th, 2023. Breaking news this morning. Senator Dianne Feinstein, a trailblazer in U.S. politics and the longest-serving woman in the Senate, has died at age 90. She was a vocal advocate of gun control measures, was also known for trying to find common ground with Republicans during her 3 decades in the Senate. She has died, according to 2 sources familiar with the matter. Feinstein, the oldest member of the Senate, is the longest-serving female senator and longest-serving senator from California. Announced in February she planned to retire at the end of her term. She had faced calls for her resignation over concerns about her health. A centrist Democrat, she was known for trying to find common ground with Republicans, sometimes drawing criticism from her party's liberal members. She parted with them on a number of issues, including opposing single-payer, government-run health care, and the ambitious Green New Deal climate proposal, which she argued was politically and fiscally unfeasible. Dianne Feinstein, dead at age 90. Also breaking news this morning, the Supreme Court will decide if state laws limiting social media platforms violate the Constitution. This from the Associated Press. The Supreme Court agreed today to decide whether state laws that seek to regulate Facebook, TikTok, X, and other social media platforms violate the Constitution. The justices will review laws enacted by Republican-dominated legislatures and signed by Republican governors in Florida and Texas. While the details vary, both laws aim to prevent social media companies from censoring users based on their viewpoints. The court's announcement, 3 days before the start of their new term, comes as justices continue to grapple with how laws written at the dawn of the digital age or earlier apply to the online world. The justices already agreed to decide whether public schools can block critics from commenting on their social media accounts, an issue that previously came up in a case involving then-President Donald Trump. The court dismissed the Trump case when his presidential term came to an end in January of 2021. In politics this morning, USA Today is bringing up takeaways from the first Biden impeachment hearing. House Republicans worked to establish a basis to impeach President Joe Biden, even as witnesses they invited said they lacked evidence, or there was a lack of evidence, that the president benefited financially from foreign business dealings of his son Hunter Biden in exchange for steering U.S. policy. Representative James Comer, the Republican from Kentucky, chairman of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, opened the Republicans' first impeachment inquiry hearing, accusing the Bidens and their associates of creating 20 shell companies that raked in more than $20 million, including when President Biden was vice president. What were the Bidens selling to make all this money? Asked Comer. Joe Biden himself. Yet all three witnesses, including a constitutional lawyer and forensics expert brought in by the Republicans during the 6-hour hearing, told lawmakers the committee does not yet have evidence of an impeachable offense, that Joe Biden received payments and was bribed. The witnesses instead urged the committee to open an impeachment inquiry and keep digging. The Oversight Committee has been issuing subpoenas. They started last night, and they go for Biden family business records. This from Fox News. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer issued 3 subpoenas last night for the personal and business bank records belonging to President Biden's son Hunter and his brother James Biden as part of the House impeachment inquiry. Comer, the Republican from Kentucky, who signaled earlier this month his intention to subpoena those records, did so just hours after the first hearing as part of the House impeachment inquiry against President Biden. Fox News Digital reviewed the subpoenas. The subpoenas have redactions over the names of the banks. It's unclear which financial institutions were subpoenaed for those records. The subpoenas compel records including account statements, direct deposits, cashier's checks, wire transfers, electronic transfer payments, credit and debit card records, loan documents, and other records related to Hunter Biden, his shell companies Owasco PC and Owasco LLC, Scanlatellis, there we go, business associate Eric Schwerin, James Biden, Lion Hall Group, LLC, and JBBSR Incorporated. The New York Civil Court has refused to delay the Trump penalty portion of his fraud trial. This from USA Today. A New York court yesterday, rejected Donald Trump's request to delay a civil trial after a judge ruled Trump committed fraud for years while building his real estate empire. New York Supreme Court Justice Arthur Engoron ruled yesterday that Trump committed fraud in overstating the value and misstating the square footage of properties for bank loans. He scheduled a non-jury trial to begin next Monday to determine penalties, with State Attorney General Letitia James seeking $250 million. Trump argued the state appeals court that Engoron failed to follow rulings that would have narrowed the allegations at the heart of the lawsuit, but the appeals court turned aside that challenge. Engoron estimated the trial to determine penalties could last 3 months. The case is one of a handful of civil and criminal trials Trump faces in the next year as he campaigns for president. Also from CNN, Speaker McCarthy does not have the votes to stop a government shutdown. Congress remained on track this morning to trigger a government shutdown this weekend, as House Speaker Kevin McCarthy appears to lack the votes to pass a GOP stopgap bill to extend government funding. Facing the most significant challenge to his leadership to date, McCarthy risks provoking a major confrontation with hardline conservatives if he tries to push through a 1-month funding extension, as they argue Congress should instead focus on passing full-year spending bills. House GOP leadership is hoping that border security provisions tucked into the temporary measure will force the hardliners' hands. If McCarthy seeks help from Democrats to pass the extension, he could prompt conservatives to move to oust him from the speakership. By the way, Speaker McCarthy and Matt Gaetz, the congressman from Florida, had an apparent serious dust-up in a closed-door meeting. USA Today reports that Representative Matt Gaetz got into a heated exchange with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in a closed-door meeting as tensions between the lawmakers on the Hill grow amid a looming government shutdown, according to reporters. Gaetz told the Hill that he asked McCarthy whether the speaker was paying for people to create a false negative sentiment about him online. His question came after Rogan O'Handley, a conservative commentator, posted a screenshot of a message on X, the platform known as Twitter, that he claimed came from a McCarthy ally to promote a post against Gaetz and the government shutdown. Gaetz retweeted the post and wrote that McCarthy was pathetic. McCarthy, however, denied the allegations, saying he did not waste his time or money on Gaetz. This, according to CNN, which first reported the exchange. House speakers, or make that House Republicans, have adopted an amendment to cut the defense secretary's salary to $1. This from USA Today. The House voted to approve an amendment from Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican from Georgia, to cut Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin's salary to $1. This happened on Wednesday, a move that comes amid growing tension in the House to avert a government shutdown. Secretary Austin has not fulfilled his job duties, said Greene on the House floor. As a matter of fact, he's destroying our military. She criticized Austin for his handling of military recruitment and the withdrawal of Afghanistan on the House floor, and said in a video on X after the House vote that there's a loss in confidence in Lloyd Austin's leadership and he deserves to be fired. Now moving to news from the States, Hawaii, the Maui fire cause has so far been called unknown, according to Hawaiian Electric CEO. This from USA Today. The deadly wildfire that killed 97 people in Maui started from an unknown cause in the afternoon, was unrelated to a blaze earlier in the day, sparked by downed power lines, according to the president of Hawaii's primary utility, speaking with congressional leaders. The lawmakers did not get a lot of other concrete answers to their questions about the fire as national leaders look for causes and possible repercussions. Hawaiian Electric CEO Shali Kimura said it may take months for investigations to wrap up. Quote, "We all want to learn what happened on August 8th so it never happens again," said Kimura, talking with the U.S. House Energy and Commerce Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigations. Hawaiian Electric serves 95% of the state's 1.4 million residents. Out of New York, teens have been arrested in New York for the 3D printing of ghost guns. This from USA Today. 3 people, including 2 minors, were arrested after ghost guns and a 3D printer were recovered from an unlocked room at a state-licensed daycare facility, according to New York City officials. The arrests were related to a long-term investigation into the manufacture and sale of ghost guns, also known as privately made firearms, according to Rebecca Weiner. She is the New York City Police Department's Deputy Commissioner of Intelligence and Counterterrorism. Police said they found multiple 3D printed firearms at a private residence in East Harlem. Karen Coley, 18 years of age, was arrested for his involvement in the 3D printing firearms in his mother's home, which police said was operating as a licensed daycare center. Coley faces charges of illegal firearms possession, manufacturing of an assault weapon, and reckless endangerment. Out of Florida today, a teacher and Disney employees are among 219 people arrested in a human trafficking operation. This from Fox News. A Polk County, Florida human trafficking operation earlier this month has led to the arrests of 219 people, including people in the country illegally, a high school teacher, and 3 Disney employees. This according to authorities. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd on yesterday, announced the results of the operation, saying out of 119 prostitutes who were arrested during the operation that began last week, 21 were possible victims of human trafficking. 2 suspects were charged in the human trafficking case. Both were here in the U.S. illegally. Freddie Escalona, 30 years of age, and Maria Guzman, 36, were charged with human trafficking and deriving proceeds from prostitution. In news of space, black dust and debris were found on the avionics deck of a canister containing the first deep space asteroid sample captured in U.S. history. NASA scientists made the discovery after the aluminum lid was removed from the OSIRIS-REx mission canister, which completed its 7-year-long mission. The dust is presumed to be part of the sample, a spokesperson for NASA's Johnson Space Center told Fox News, adding that scientists plan to conduct a quick-look analysis on it. It was expected there was always a part of the curation procedures to find extra material. After launching in September of 2016, OSIRIS-REx observed and collected samples from Bennu, a carbon-rich asteroid with a long stick vacuum. Some of the sample contents were lost due to a jammed door after collection. The ship began its journey back to Earth on May 10th, 2021. And that is today's front page. Coming up, more on the death of Senator Dianne Feinstein. It is breaking news. It just happened. A longtime lion of the United States Senate has passed on. She was 90 years old. We'll have a report coming to you from the various news sources around America as San Francisco mourns the loss of a giant. This is the Wells Report. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. We began our day today with sad and breaking news that Dianne Feinstein, longtime Senate server, a longtime senator from the state of California, has died. This is the ABC 7 San Francisco report on the death of a Senate giant.
6:45, and we're updating breaking news. Senator Dianne Feinstein has died at the age of 90. Feinstein was in her 6th term as United States Senator from California since winning a special election in 1992. Her exact cause of death has not been released. In recent months, she faced scrutiny over her health. Back in February, she announced she would not run for re-election next year.
New reaction is coming in. California Congressmember Katie Porter, who is running for Feinstein's seat, posted this on X, saying Senator Feinstein Feinstein was a trailblazer for women in California politics, and her leadership on gun violence prevention and anti-torture made our nation more just. I wish her loved ones strength during this difficult time.
And Senator Marco Rubio also released this statement. Senator Feinstein was a political pioneer with a historic career of public service, intelligent, hardworking, and always treated everyone with courtesy and respect. May God grant her eternal rest. And stay with Eyewitness News for continuing coverage on the death of Dianne Feinstein. We'll continue to follow this story throughout the day.
And indeed, many people will be following that very serious story. NBC News came up with the breaking news this morning. Senator Dianne Feinstein, the Democrat from California, a vocal advocate of, gun control measures, who was also known for trying to find common ground with Republicans, died today. Senator Feinstein never backed away from a fight for what was just and right. At the same time, she was always willing to work with anyone, even though she disagreed with, if it meant bettering the lives of California or bettering the lives of our nation. This according to James Sauls in a statement, her chief of staff. There were few women that can be called senator, chairman, mayor, wife, mom, and grandmother. Senator Feinstein was a force of nature who made an incredible impact on our country and her home state. She was the oldest member of the Senate, longest-serving female senator, longest-serving senator from California. She announced February that she planned to retire at the end of 2024 when her term was complete. She'd faced calls for her resignation over concerns about her health. After she announced her retirement, President Joe Biden hailed his former Senate colleague, calling her, quote, a passionate defender of civil liberties and a strong voice for national security policies that kept us safe while honoring our values. Quote, I've served with more U.S. senators than just about anyone, President Biden said at the time. I can honestly say that Dianne Feinstein is one of the very best. After Feinstein missed votes in late February, her spokesperson said on March 1st, the senator from California is in her home state this week, dealing with a health matter, hopes to return to Washington soon. The California Democrat was a vocal advocate of gun control measures, championing the assault weapons ban that then President Bill Clinton signed into law in 1994, and pushing for restrictive laws since the ban's expiration in 2004. As chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Feinstein led a multi-year review of the CIA's detention program and also the program that brought interrogation to the American consciousness through accusations of torture. She led to that particular investigation led to legislation barring the use of methods of torture that were in use at the time. A centrist Democrat, she was known for trying to find common ground with Republicans, sometimes drawing criticism from her own party. And she parted with them on a number of issues, including opposing single-payer, government-run health care and the Green New Deal. Senator Dianne Feinstein has passed on. She was 90 years of age. Regardless of whether or not you agreed with her politically, you cannot deny the fact that she was indeed, as her chief of staff said, a force of nature. And she indeed served this country very, very well. Dianne Feinstein, may you rest in peace for all eternity. Coming up, we have more information about what happened yesterday and today, politics taking the lead, and we'll have more about that as we continue, specifically an impeachment inquiry. We'll continue in just a moment.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
This is the Wells Report. Good morning. Fishing Shirt Friday in progress. I hope you have your fishing shirt on. If you don't, please remedy that as quickly as you possibly can. Fishing shirts are cool. I mean, they literally are cool, and that's why we wear them. So yesterday, the Republican Party had their first impeachment inquiry hearing. And there were some very interesting things that happened in the committee hearing, specifically all manner of parliamentary interruptions at all times, all the way through the entire 6-hour hearing. It was tedious, it was annoying, and the Democrats, they had to bluster because they really didn't have anything else to work with. This is bad for everybody. Don't get me wrong, this is bad. Just as it was bad when the Democrats went after President Trump, It's bad that the Republicans are going after Joe Biden, not necessarily because Joe Biden doesn't deserve it. There's an awful lot of information here. There are an awful lot of questions that have to be answered. And I've called on the Biden administration to start answering those questions without being prompted or without being forced, and they have not done so. Further, I also mentioned that if indeed the House Oversight Committee would be stonewalled in any way, shape, or form, the impeachment inquiry would be the next step. And that's exactly what's going on, and yesterday was their first contentious hearing. House Republicans worked to establish a basis to impeach President Joe Biden. Witnesses they invited said they still lack evidence to do so. Representative James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, opened the Republicans' first impeachment inquiry hearing yesterday, accusing the Bidens and their associates of creating 20 shell companies that raked in more than $20 million, including when President Biden was vice president. What were the Bidens selling to make all this money? Asked Comer. He answered himself by saying, Joe Biden himself. By the way, there was something that did come up in that hearing that I wanted to relate to you, and that was some testimony. It actually was in a statement by one of the representatives. I wasn't quick enough to write down his name. But he pointed out that President Trump, I've long asked, who has 20 shell companies? And he brought up that President Trump, in his various dealings throughout his career, had 500 shell companies. 500 of these companies. And I figured that that was worth bringing up to you. This is a balanced broadcast, regardless of what anybody says. It's still a balanced broadcast. That is news, and you needed to hear it here on the Wells Report. We're going to follow up on that to find out whether or not the congressman was actually speaking the truth, but somehow I believe he was indeed doing so. What were the Bidens selling that made all this money? Joe Biden himself. All three witnesses, including a constitutional lawyer and forensics expert, brought in by Republicans during the 6-hour hearing, told lawmakers the committee does not have evidence of an impeachable offense, that Joe Biden received payments and was thus bribed. The witnesses instead urged the committee to open an impeachment inquiry and to keep digging. Democrats, for their part, accused Republicans of holding a sham hearing, taking marching orders from former President Donald Trump as payback for his 2 impeachments and ignoring the real crisis, a looming federal government shutdown if the Congress does not take action before Sunday. And there is video on that to support that report, and let's go ahead and bring that to you here as we move forward on this Friday morning.
The Interagency Policy Committee said this on October 1st, 2015. The IPC recommends moving forward with a third loan guarantee to Ukraine in the near term. And even after Joe Biden gives the speech on December 9th, the European Commission said, their report said the anti-corruption benchmark is deemed to have been achieved for Ukraine. But the most telling evidence is what his business partner said. Devon Archer, when we deposed him under oath just 2 months ago, said this. Here's the question. The request was help from the United States government to deal with the pressure they were under from their prosecutor. You know what Mr. Archer's response was? That's correct. Next question. What did Hunter Biden do after he was given that request? He called his dad. That's what we're investigating. That's one of the 3 things Professor Turley talked about, the influence peddling scheme. I want to go to those 3 things, Professor Turley. False statements, influence peddling scheme, and Joe Biden might have benefited. Let's do the third one first. Is a benefit to your family, can a benefit to your family be a benefit to you?
It is. There's been repeated statements that you need to show that President Biden accepted direct money in order for this to constitute a benefit, even under criminal cases that deal with bribery, extortion, and the Hobbs Act. The courts actually have rejected that. They've said that money going to family members is in fact a benefit, and I don't really see any legal basis for that. Obviously, the strongest case is if you have a direct payment. But this idea that you can have millions going to a politician's family and that's not a benefit, I think is pretty fallacious.
Yeah, how about the false claims thing? In your written testimony, you said to the extent that the president has used the White House, I think this is a little broader. To the extent the president used the White House staff to maintain false claims or resist disclosures, it can fit into the type of Nixonian abuse of power model. We know all kinds of false statements have been made by the White House. Joe Biden's made them. He said it was a lousy question when they asked him, have you ever been involved, talk to anyone of your son's business partners? We know that was false. Ron Klain said The president's confident his son didn't break the law. Press Secretary Jen Psaki said never spoke to his son about his overseas business dealings. What do you think about all those false statements from the White House in this abuse of power issue?
Well, the involvement of White House staff and executive branch staff has been really one of the tripwires that we saw in Nixon, and to some extent even in Clinton. The degree to which you enlist support for a false narrative or to obstruct Congress can go into things like abuse of power. One of the things that I suggested is that if you look at past impeachment inquiries, and once again, this is an inquiry to find evidence, you're not voting on articles of impeachment, those allegations tend to develop last, and you look at what you have found.
Yeah. How about the Attorney General? I'm concerned about statements he made. March 1st, 2023, in front of the Senate, he was asked a question about Mr. Weiss's investigation. He said this in response to Senator Grassley. Mr. Weiss has full authority to bring cases in other jurisdictions if he feels it's necessary. Last week, the Attorney General told us that Weiss had the authority because I promised him he would have the authority if he asked it. That seems to me to be something different. It's what he said to the Senate, he's got full authority, no problem. Last week he told the House Judiciary Committee he had authority because I promised if he come talk to me, I would give him the authority that I already told the Senate he had. Do you see a concern there with false statements coming from the Biden Justice Department?
Well, there is a concern. You don't have to prejudge the evidence to say that obviously this is part of the inquiry. And what I don't understand is the opposition to the inquiry itself. It seems to me the test is, would the alleged conduct, if proven, establish impeachable offenses? And is there a credible basis for those allegations? I think the answer is clearly yes, that there is a basis to look at the president's conduct without prejudging whether that qualifies at the beginning of that inquiry as an article of impeachment.
There was also a great deal of snark that got tossed around between the various members of the committee. And as is often the case, the Democrats' view or the Democrats' opportunity to throw snark often includes someone known as MTG. That, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Hunter Biden needs to be held accountable for his sexual exploitation of women. And we've shown more evidence. We've shown evidence. This is what it looks like. This is what Mann Act violations look like.
Mr. Chairman,
I reclaim my time.
I'd like to challenge the use of this
Hunter
exhibit
Biden
under
should
Clause
be
6
held
of Rule
accountable.
17.
It is sad that my
Point
Democrat
of order.
colleagues
Point of order.
pretend to care about women's rights while allowing Hunter Biden to exploit women. This is a shame. But let's talk about—
Chairman, there's a parliamentary challenge before us.
The point of
Mr.
order.
Chairman, point of order.
Who's the point? And we'll stop the clock for you, Ms. Green.
Mr. Chairman, our colleague from Georgia has introduced before pornographic exhibits and displayed things that are really not suitable for children who might be watching. And
bathing suits not suitable, Mr. Raskin?
Well, I'm saying I would like the member to be instructed to not introduce any pornography today, at least without running it
A
through the chair
bathing suit is not pornography,
Well, we
Mr.
can't see it
Raskin.
from down there, so you didn't make it available to the minority before you
I've seen
started.
it before. It's
Okay.
on the internet. It's everywhere.
You are submitting a naked woman's body.
This is a bathing suit. This is a bathing suit.
And it has not been clear before this committee.
All right.
Glasses on. Do you wear them
Okay.
or not? It's a
I have
bathing
contacts in. Thank
suit.
you.
Oh, congratulations.
All right. Chair, ask Ms. Green to proceed.
Now let's talk about more evidence the Democrats have denied that's turned out to be true. We all know Joe Biden is the big guy. And we confirmed that Hunter Biden was lobbying his father. Here's another example that was just released yesterday. This is from a timeline from one of the IRS whistleblowers and quotes an email between Vuk Jeremic, a Serbian politician, and Hunter Biden. Did you have a chance to talk with the big man? He's receiving my prime minister on Wednesday. Please let me know if you think that what we discussed back in D.C. can be mentioned in the meeting. My domestic strategy, how I proceed in dealing with my government, very much depends on whether it happens or not. This is a conversation between Hunter Biden and Vuk Jeremic. This is called influence peddling. This is how Hunter Biden was selling his father's political power and influence. And this is a perfect example. This is evidence right here.
And so the work on trying to get this all done is proceeding. And the Democrats, as I said, used all manner of parliamentary things, indeed. And yes, MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, had indeed shown what were, it depends on what you call them. Is it pornography if it's pointed out in an official proceeding? Well, they were nude pictures, or actually they were fully clothed pictures of a nude Hunter Biden. And so there's a circumstance there where once again, the point that I'm trying to make here is the Democrats took every possible opportunity to interrupt any of the proceedings that were going on with parliamentary procedures. And just like we saw there, they saw an opportunity to bring up something that had not occurred. That is Marjorie Taylor Greene showing what they considered to be a pornographic picture, when indeed it was a woman in a bathing suit. But they did take an opportunity to go ahead and interrupt the proceedings. And that happened all day. And once again, in my particular point of view, the reason it did is because when you don't have the facts, you pound on the table. And when you can't pound on the table, if that's not effective, you just start shouting at the top of your lungs. And that's what the Democrats are reduced to. That one interaction between Vuk Jeremic, which is how you pronounce his name, that between Hunter Biden and Vuk Jeremic is telling. That is a serious piece of evidence. And once again, none of it's a serious piece of testimony. But once again, you have to keep something in mind. None of this is real. None of this is real, but it does point out that questions need to be answered. When I say real, I'm talking about evidence in a courtroom. It's not a courtroom. It is a political endeavor. And as long as it is a political endeavor, it is a basis for skepticism. You must be skeptical about what's been going on here. However, I agree with the people that were testifying. Jonathan Turley, one of them, a forensic accountant, and someone from the actual Justice Department. I agree with them. Continue your investigations. Continue moving forward. And that is exactly what has happened. Following this particular hearing, the chairman, James Comer, started issuing subpoenas for records involving banking information for the Biden family. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer issued 3 subpoenas last night, according to Fox News, for the personal and business bank records belonging to President Biden's son Hunter, his brother James, as a part of the House impeachment inquiry. Comer signaled earlier this month he was planning on doing that. He did it. The subpoenas have redactions over the names of the banks. It's unclear which financial institutions were subpoenaed for these records. The subpoenas compel records, including account statements, direct deposits, cashier checks, wire transfers, electronic transfer payments, credit and debit card records, loan documents, and other records related to Hunter Biden and his various shell companies. Quote, "From day one of our investigation of Joe Biden's abuse of public office, we followed the money, and that continues with today's subpoenas for Hunter and James Biden's bank records." This according to Comer last night. Bank records don't lie. And coupled with witness testimony, they reveal that Joe Biden abused his public office for his family's financial gain. Comer said the financial records that his committee obtained to date reveal a pattern where the Bidens sold access to Joe Biden around the world to enrich the Biden family. Went on to say, as the Bidens were sealing deals around the world, Joe Biden showed up, met with, talked with, shook hands with, and had meetings with foreign nationals, sending money to his family. This culture of corruption demands further investigation. The Oversight Committee, as well as the Committees on Judiciary and Ways and Means, will continue to follow the money to determine whether President Biden's involvement in his family's business schemes makes him compromised and threatens our national security. This is something that I brought up before. I am concerned about the monies that are being given to Ukraine. Is this president paying off on a political or a deal involving his influence? That's something that has to get chased down. If that's the case, well, Katie, bar the door. There's more. It's Friday. Back in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. There are pieces of information coming out about the GOP primary debate, the second one, in fact. Likely Republican voters think that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis had the best performance in the second Republican debate, according to a brand new poll. This poll, by the way, was conducted by 538 Washington Post. Ipsos asked 2,262 likely voters in the Republican primary to grade each other's or each candidate's performance during the debate, which was hosted on Wednesday night by Fox Business in Simi Valley, California. Prior to the debate, pollsters asked likely GOP primary voters how they thought each candidate would perform. Overall, they thought Vivek Ramaswamy would finish ahead of the rest, closely followed by DeSantis, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, and then Senator Tim Scott. When polled following the debate, 33% of respondents thought DeSantis performed best during the debate, followed by Haley at 18% and Ramaswamy at 15%. On the other hand, the sage political, or the august political sage, Newt Gingrich, weighed in on exactly what the situation was regarding this particular election on Laura Ingraham last night.
Look, I think there were a number of smart people on stage last night. And I think that you're right. If they were in a setting where they could have a real conversation, they would be more interesting people. But it wouldn't help them. It would not help any of them get to be the nominee Because the fact is, very few people are going to watch. If I don't know what the numbers were last night, but they're going to be worse. If there is a third debate, it'll have virtually no viewership. It'll have no impact except in the news media. And so, I mean, I like Nikki Haley a lot. I think she's very smart and did a great job at the UN and a great job as governor. I think Ron DeSantis is an amazing governor and has been about as effective as you could be. And in other circumstances, I suspect he'd be the front runner. But we are where we are. Trump is not really a candidate. He is the leader of a national movement. And that's a totally different psychological and emotional relationship than candidacy. So I think the question now is, can we stop the Justice Department and the various legal assaults? And remember, they're not just attacking Trump. They're trying to block Robert F. Kennedy Jr. They're trying to block the no labels people. I mean, the Biden model is, if I can keep everybody off the ballot and I have no opponent, I'll probably win, which is insane. I mean, it is so un-American that to have him lecture the rest of us on democracy, frankly, makes my stomach churn.
Newt, we're about to have Doug Burgum and Vivek Ramaswamy on the show. So if they want to be considered future candidates for the presidency, maybe in a cabinet, or what would you suggest that they do now? Really quickly.
Well, look, I've been a candidate. I know that you get in there, you always have hope. They're going to point out that nobody's even voted yet, and they'll think I'm being presumptuous. My advice would be endorse Trump, campaign across the country, get better known. I thought Doug Burgum, given his practical real-life experience in business, given the great job he's done in North Dakota, he clearly should be in a cabinet. I think Ramaswamy has an amazing future. He's 38 years old, and I think he's going to do well. But all these folks are good people. It wasn't that any of them were bad people. It is that none of them is in the same league as Donald Trump. And
yeah, none of them is. And the former Speaker of the House made a brilliant statement when he said that Donald Trump isn't necessarily a candidate. He's the leader of a national movement. And that national movement exists purely because the American body politic, I'm talking about Democrats, Republicans, progressives, conservative politicians, they missed the 2016 message that they were fired by the American people. And instead of realizing that the entire paradigm had shifted, realizing that, hey, wait a minute, we're doing something wrong here. What we end up with these politicians working as hard as they possibly can to keep their hands on the levers of power, as opposed to realizing that the American people, beneficiaries of the greatest communications system ever in the history of the human endeavor, we have communications, and this show is a product of it. You don't have to wait for ABC, CBS, NBC to bring you the news. You can turn on your nearest computer. You don't even have to have a computer. You can turn on your phone. You can find somebody like me giving you the news of the day right up to the second. And so in that, you have the opportunity for the American people to know fully what is going on in Washington, D.C., and in every other part and corner of the world. It may not necessarily be completely accurate reporting, but at least it's reporting at some level. And politicians believe that, they've been lured into a sense of false security, at least the left has, because the mainstream media is left. But as a free enterprise society always shows, there will always be competition. And there are people that can make a great deal of success for themselves by providing an alternative view. And so that's why Fox News is the runaway leader in cable news. And why? Because they don't have any competition. Everybody else is essentially regurgitating the same leftist talking points. And so when you look at all of this and you say, okay, well, what about Donald Trump? All you really need to know about whether or not Donald Trump is, as Newt Gingrich said, a political force based on a movement as opposed to a candidacy. All you have to do is point out that the mainstream media, Republicans and Democrats, everybody is trying to get him out of the race. That should tell you anything and everything you need to know. The people of the American people are going one way, the body politic going a completely different way. Hour number 2 is next.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. I'm John David Wells. What do? We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We make commentary, that's opinion, both yours and mine. Commentary as opposed to commentary. It's commentary. It's your opinion, my opinion, and we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. Fishing Shirt Friday. Hope you're wearing your fishing shirt. Go to Academy and Academy Sports and get yourself a fishing shirt. Magellan. Okay? This, by the way, is a Crofton Barrow. In case you're wondering, that's from Kohl's. Right? They're pretty good, too. About the same price points. So, yeah, but don't buy a $50 fishing shirt from Columbia. They're great fishing shirts. Don't get me wrong. They're fantastic. But $50? I don't think so. I don't think so. Fishing Shirt Friday, let's keep going here. Congress has been as a constant source of annoyance and frustration for me, playing around with the budget. There are 12 appropriations bills that have to get passed every single year. And one of the reasons why we have a $33 trillion national debt and a $1.5 trillion budget overrun, regardless of what the president says. Because the reason we have this is because these budgetary implements, these budgetary instruments, rather, well, they're not getting passed on time. And Speaker Kevin McCarthy, in an effort to get himself elected as Speaker, promised to get all of these particular appropriations bills passed through regular order. He has not done so, although he has passed 4 of them. There are others. In the meantime, those people who were contentiously trying to stop Kevin McCarthy from the ascension to speakership extracted out of him some promises. And they're upset that those promises haven't been taken care of. They're angry that he has not come through on those promises that led to his speakership. Matt Gaetz, a Republican firebrand from Florida, is in the speaker's face saying, you better come into compliance with your promises or we're going to remove you, or at least we're going to put a resolution to vacate the chair, which is a way of firing the Speaker of the House of Representatives. What's fascinating, by the way, is that with all this, nobody wants the job. Nobody wants the job of Speaker. Can you blame them? Somebody will step up if indeed Speaker McCarthy is removed. But who knows? There's more on that coming up in just a couple of minutes regarding Gaetz and McCarthy. Contentious meeting, and we'll have more details on that in just a couple of moments. Speaker McCarthy is facing his most significant challenge to his leadership, according to CNN News. He risks provoking a major confrontation with hardline conservatives if he tries to push through a 1-month funding extension, as they argue Congress should instead focus on passing full-year spending bills. Those are the regular order appropriations bills that I talked about a moment ago. House GOP leadership is hoping that border security provisions tucked into the temporary measure will force the hardliners' hands. Yeah, so that's one of the other things these hardliners want border security. These hardliners are upset with Ukraine financing, especially in light of the disaster on Maui that remains, for all intents and purposes, unfunded. You just lost your entire house because of a wildfire, and they give you $700, while the FEMA executives handing you those checks are staying in $1,100 a day hotel suites at five-star hotels. Yeah, that's not going to work with an awful lot of people. And moreover, as I was alluding to a moment ago, the people of the United States, they have access to information they've never had access to before. They have information that allows them to understand that this is bogus and cannot continue. And so the Speaker of the House of Representatives has got to come up with some things that are important to these people. It's ridiculous that we have a $1.5 trillion budget deficit, let alone a $33 trillion national debt. And these so-called hardline conservatives are standing off saying, okay, enough's enough. Mr. Speaker, you made some promises. What's going on? So yeah, it's a significant challenge to his speakership, and he could quite literally lose his job over this. Because there's a situation where the Democrats could come to the rescue of the Speaker to at least get this funding bill, this temporary funding bill, this continuing resolution, to get passed with Democrat votes as opposed to Republican ones, which would effectively, if not end, certainly become a major sticking point for the Republican caucus. So the spending levels, border measures would likely doom the bills in the Democrat-controlled Senate anyway, but at least the House of Representatives can point to the Senate and say Chuck Schumer doesn't want to close the border, doesn't want to do anything about Ukraine financing, doesn't care about a $33 trillion national debt, doesn't care about a $1.5 trillion budget deficit. And that's the game of politics. I know, it's sausage making. It's ridiculous. House GOP leaders are uncertain they have the votes to win a key procedural vote this morning to take up the stopgap bill because all Democrats are expected to vote against the rule. They could, however, vote for it in order to keep Kevin McCarthy where he is. As we know, or as we think, the Republican Party exists basically to enable Democrat priorities. So the Democrats, might be able to say, hey, we stand more of a better chance to get more of our agenda through if Speaker McCarthy remains in his seat. But of course, the Republican caucus of the House of Representatives, the conservative caucus, would obviously they would be provoked into creating all manner of trouble for the Republican Party, which once again leads back to something else I keep saying. Republicans find a way to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. I don't blame the Freedom Caucus. They are saying the right things at the right time. The people of the United States understand that $33 trillion worth of national debt's ridiculous. It's the biggest embezzlement scheme in the history of the human endeavor. They understand that. The problem here is Republican Party leadership, as I've been telling you about the Republican Party. The Republican Party is not conservative. The Republican Party is facilitative. They facilitate Democrat priorities instead of fighting them tooth and nail like the Freedom Caucus is doing. They, the Freedom Caucus, are showing the Republican Party exactly what they should be doing. And this idea that bipartisanship, this good Christian bipartisanship of fellowship is something that we all need. All that does is turn the entire decision-making process of the government of the United States over to the ruling class, which is not the way we have this country designed. We, the people, are in charge. The House of Representatives are our closest representatives to power in the United States. And sooner or later, they will, by God, do what we, the people, want them to do. It's a fight. It's ugly. It's sausage making. It's exploited politically on both sides. But the idea that the Republican Party can be facilitators is gone. And the sooner that the Republican Party realizes it, the sooner they will have a future as opposed to getting ever closer to the dustbin of history. Because the people out here, Not happy. Not happy. You want to see the Conservative Party of America rush past the Republican Party? Just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing, and you will not have a political party of any relevance in the United States ever again. I mean, let's talk about it. Anybody remember the Whig Party? No. No, they don't. The reason they don't is because they refused to adapt to the political environment. The Republican Party is going right down that tube. They absolutely are. And so, let's get back to the actual reporting of this news. So, majority party votes in lockstep to approve the rule, which is the procedural thing which moves the bill forward, this being the continuing resolution to be able to keep the government funded beyond tomorrow night at midnight. That vote, by the way, that rule vote is scheduled for 11:30 this morning. If adopted, the House will vote on the final passage of the stopgap bill at 1:15 this afternoon. The Speaker refused yesterday to say whether he would try to cut a deal with Democrats, a step that could prompt conservatives to move to oust him from the speakership. I still got time. I got time to do other things, McCarthy responded when asked by CNN's Manu Raju what will happen if the stopgap bill fails. Pressed further on whether he has a plan B, McCarthy said, in this job you have to have plans A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. He laughed when asked whether he was which letter he was currently on. I haven't spelled out my name completely, said the California Republican. That's good. That's nice. He's keeping his sense of humor. That's a good idea. A shutdown could have enormous impacts. Most of them are overstated. Most of these impacts are overstated. Although if you're a government employee, you have a good chance of going for a couple of weeks, a paycheck or two or three, without a paycheck or two or three. And so once again, enormous impacts, that's being overstated for the sake of politics. Speaking of politics in the news, the Biden impeachment inquiry. Will that collide with the shutdown chaos of the Republican Party, says the biased USA Today. Voters are divided over the House GOP's impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden, an effort that kicked off this week. House Republicans are facing backlash as they pursue the impeachment inquiry on the eve of a potential government shutdown. Again, this is a machination. This is a construct designed to put pressure on the Republican Party to play ball and keep kicking the can down the road. Keep kicking that can down the road. Keep business as usual. Oh, yeah. Don't worry about that debt thing. Yeah, it's money we owe ourselves. Oh, yeah? So what? We're not going to collect the money that the government owes us? We're just going to say, don't worry about it. Just pretend it's a college loan. Well, that's your Social Security. And that's Medicare. And those are things that people in this nation depend on. Are we going to, say, for example, just forego our debt? No. No, what we're going to do, the president came up with this wonderful statement saying the EPA won't be able to do its important work. Fine. Those guys need to be locked in their office building and do absolutely nothing, in my view. Talked about a whole bunch of other programs that have absolutely no basis in reality, only political reality. They can all be stopped. Nobody would even know. No one would even know. And so the idea that the impeachment inquiry is screwing everything up, well, it's not screwing up anything. And it's not going to screw up anything. I mean, come on. These are two separate topics. By the way, the impeachment inquiry was yesterday. They're not doing anything about it today, so that leaves the entire day for this continuing resolution debate. I'm going to make a mentalist prediction. They're going to get it passed. The Democrat enabling Senate has already passed their version of this stopgap spending bill, so the House will pass something, and the conference committee will all get together and they'll figure something out, and then they'll both pass it again, probably not hear anything about it, and everything will be right with the world as the government of the United States. $33 trillion in debt will move forward with, creating more debt. Our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren are going to hate our guts because of all the spending that we have foisted upon them without even asking.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Oh, no, you can't. Talking with my executive producer, the incredible Dirk Steele, who without his services, this broadcast would be mediocre. Anyway, he's threatening to leave. He wants to start his weekend early. Okay? But don't get sucked into that, okay? Man, the guy has no life. He thinks changing the actual little chrome thing in the basis, in the bottom of his bathroom sink, he thinks that is just fascinating. He loves doing stuff like that. This is the Wells Report. So, Speaking of people yelling at each other, Representative Matt Gaetz got into a heated exchange with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in a closed-door meeting yesterday. Yeah, those two lawmakers are going at it hammer and tong, and it's all over the government shutdown and other things. Matt Gaetz is essentially not a member of the Freedom Caucus. However, he works to the same ends as the Freedom Caucus and wants House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to do what he said he was going to do when he got elected in exchange for the support for Matt Gaetz and the Freedom Caucus to become the Speaker. So Rogan O'Handley, a conservative commentator, posted a screenshot of a message on X that came from a McCarthy ally, according to the claim by Mr. O'Handley, to promote a post against Gaetz and the government shutdown. Gaetz retweeted the post and wrote under it that McCarthy was pathetic. Now, for his part, Speaker McCarthy denied the allegation, saying he didn't waste his time or money on Gaetz, according to CNN, which first reported the exchange. McCarthy's campaign sent a cease and desist letter to the individuals. It's to an individual firm called Notorious LLC, who they believe is behind the campaign, according to Politico. Well, okay, if there's no basis in fact, why would you send a cease and desist to Notorious LLC? Well, because it's true. The meeting adds to the tension between Gaetz and McCarthy, who have been at odds after Gaetz threatened to oust him, McCarthy, from the speakership. After the exchange, GOP House members in the room criticized Gaetz, with one of them calling him a scumbag. Really? Gaetz told The Hill that McCarthy's non sequitur retort was that he was giving out $2.5 million to other Republicans at breakfast. Yeah. You see, all that campaign cash, like, for example, say you want to run for Congress. So you want to run for Congress, so the first thing you have to do is get a whole bunch of money. It's not just for campaign ads, for signs and all that stuff. It's not just for that. That money is also a requirement of service when you get to Washington. You have to pay dues to the Republican Party for committee assignments and all manner of other things. You actually have to pay for that. That's the deal that's going on with the Republican Party, and the Democrat Party does it too. And so this corporation of party representatives is one of the reasons why people like me are going, are we being represented at all by anybody in Washington? This is one of the reasons why the parties essentially take care of their business instead of taking care of our business, because it's big business. And so McCarthy is handing out money to various Republicans. Well, does that buy influence? Well, of course it does. Of course it does. McCarthy says, hey, I need your vote, so how about if I throw $500,000 into your campaign contributions, or give back some of this money that you've been charged for dues, or any number of other things. So Gaetz told The Hill that McCarthy was the recipient of threats, including McCarthy not holding, or that McCarthy had threatened him, including McCarthy not holding votes on issues like term limits or balanced budgets. He criticized McCarthy for not releasing the full security tapes from the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol, which is something that's on my radar. I want to see those tapes immediately. Speaker McCarthy, get them out there. You said you were going to, so do it. If he doesn't do it, I'm really not going to cry if he gets removed from the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Not at all. Not that I would in the first place, but you get my idea, right?
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
This is the Wells Report Friday. When this one's done, we get to have 2 more days left in the work week. Jesus. At least I do. That's the way things go. But yeah, you know, it's okay. It's not like I'm digging coal for a living. As opposed to our executive producer that makes this broadcast run. He has to dig coal for a living. So there you go. There is something coming up here that I want to spend a little bit of time on. This is a presidential election season. And President Biden has real problems with his campaign. Specifically, he has not much of a record to run on. Polling suggests that easily more than 2/3 of the nation believes that the country's on the wrong track. And the people that say he's too old, that he's too infirm, they don't like his policies, they don't like the way he runs the economy, they don't believe that this is a nation that they want to continue with, is how the president is looking at his future in this particular election season. So what does he campaign on? He campaigns on the destruction of his opponents. And there are opponents. One of them is RFK Jr. The Democrat Party is doing everything they possibly can to impede RFK Jr. from forcing President Biden to actually confront the issues that he has brought forth on this nation. So what does the president run on? Well, he vilifies his opponents. And in Tempe, Arizona, the president did exactly that. According to Agence France-Presse, President Biden launched a blistering personal attack on extremist Donald Trump yesterday, accusing his likely 2024 challenger of plotting to subvert the U.S. Constitution if he wins a return to power next year. The Democrat president said in a speech in the battleground state of Arizona, the Republican frontrunner was driven by vengeance and vindictiveness and urged the Americans to stand up for democracy before it was too late. The speech came as the House Republicans launched an impeachment inquiry into the 80-year-old president based on allegations that he lied about his son Hunter's business dealings. Quote, "We should all remember democracies don't have to die at the end of a rifle," unquote. They can die when people are silent, when they fail to stand up or condemn threats to democracy. Here is some of that speech. I want you to see it. This, again, the President of the United States in Tempe, Arizona.
There's an extremist movement that does not share the basic beliefs in our democracy. The MAGA movement. There's no question that today's Republican Party is driven and intimidated by MAGA Republican extremists. They're not hiding their attacks. They're openly promoting them. Extremists in Congress more determined to shut down the government, to burn the place down. Trump says the Constitution gave him, quote, "the right to do whatever he wants as president," end of quote. I've never even heard a president say that in jest. The MAGA extremists across the country have made it clear where they stand. So the challenge for the rest of America, for the majority of Americans, is to make clear where we stand, which is why I'm asking you that regardless of whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or Independent, put the preservation of our democracy before everything else. Put our country first.
Yeah, well, Mr. President, that's not what you're doing. And I have examples. For example, you're trying to get us to drive electric cars. There is no national infrastructure to support those electric cars. Starting at the grid that Americans depend on to keep their houses cool. Oh, wait a minute. Well, that's because you're just some bourgeois, crazy person that wants to be cool in the summer and warm in the winter. What's the matter with you? Well, that's what they said to the people who used to be citizens of the Soviet Union. You want people to use different light bulbs. Oh, wait a minute. That wasn't me. That was years ago. Yeah, that was when you were the vice president. It's none of the business of the government of the United States as to what kind of light bulbs we use or how we cook our food. If we want to use natural gas, which is one of the least polluting fuels anywhere in the entire physical realm, we're going to use natural gas, but you want to stop all that. Again, your alternative? More electricity. We don't have the electricity required for those plans, Mr. President. You are forcing the American people to live at a lower standard of living based on your politics and your lame justification that somehow the human endeavor is responsible for the weather on a planet that is 24,900 miles in circumference. Sorry, Mr. President, none of that works. Your economic policies, your policies on energy have driven the United States into a mess of inflation that, yes, taxes the middle class that you assured that you would never tax. Well, we didn't raise taxes on the middle class. No. What you did is you increased the prices on everything, thus creating more tax revenue for the government. In other words, when you're paying $1.87 for gas, the government gets X amount of money. When you pay $4, $5, $6 a gallon for gas, they get more money. That's a tax on the middle class. Also, when you curtail the amount of energy spent, all the trucks that bring all the food to all the grocery stores, they have to charge more. So they make more money, so the government makes more money. The grocery stores have to charge more money, so they pay more taxes, so the government makes more money. So the idea that the middle class isn't being taxed by this president doesn't wash. It's a lie. And so all of this comes down on President Joe Biden. So he knows all this. Moreover, his handlers know all this. And so what do? Well, you say that President Donald Trump is somehow going to subvert the Constitution of the United States. You mean like, I don't know, weaponizing the Department of Justice so that people that are practicing the First Amendment of the United States can get hounded and badgered and investigated by the FBI, Mr. President? You talking about that kind of attack on the Constitution? How about the fact that you don't do anything about the southern border of the United States? That's in the Constitution. You're not doing anything about the border of the United States. Is that the ignorance of the Constitution that you're trying to foist on President Donald Trump? Your likely competitor in 2024? So that pretty much puts to bed whether or not it's Trump or Biden that's ignoring the Constitution. That's just two examples. There are plenty of them. And so what he says is that, frontrunner Trump is driven by vengeance and vindictiveness. Okay, so if you were, say, for example, I don't know, a parent that went out and took the local school board to task and found yourself in a mess with the IRS and the FBI, and then you found out that that was completely and totally unjust, would you not have an interest in vengeance and vindictiveness? The answer is yes. Well, now think about being the president of the United States and having the deep state trying to end your presidency, disenfranchising every voter that voted for you to remove you from office because they don't like the fact that you are going to upend the political machine that runs these United States. I don't know about you, but I've been watching the news every day for 22 years and some months. There needs to be some vengeance and vindictiveness against this particular government for what they've been doing to the people of the United States. So, if everything that I'm saying is true, then what about the president's assertion that Donald Trump is attacking democracy? He's not attacking democracy. He is, however, attacking democracy. In other words, this political machine led by the Democrat Party of the United States, involving all the executive branch agencies and the mainstream media, all coming together to drive the country a place where the American people don't want to go. That is what Donald Trump attacks. And that's not democracy. That is democracy. More about that in a minute. President Biden says, you got to remember, democracies don't have to die at the end of a rifle. Really? When Nancy Pelosi surrounded the Capitol of the United States in razor wire and fencing and 24,000 United States troops, did they have rifles? The answer is yes. Did absolutely curtailing, walling off the capital of the United States, was that an attack on democracy? Yeah. That attack killed off the democracy of people actually going to the government to redress their grievances. That's the First Amendment. Gosh, you know what? Therefore, that's another attack of the Constitution. Was that Trump that did all that? No. No, that was Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. So on January 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, blah, 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 actually it was 7th and 8th and on for some months, democracy did die at the end of a rifle, Mr. President. And so that's where we find ourselves today. It's not an attack on democracy. It's an attack on democracy. I am sure that the president's fear is real. He doesn't want to be the president where all of this political machine came clattering down in a giant crash of destroyed ulterior agenda. So I'm sure he's pretty upset and he's pretty worried about it. Yeah, Donald Trump, man, he's a threat against democracy. But he's not an attack. He's not a threat against democracy. He is a product of it. And I'm beginning to get a little annoyed at the president talking about MAGA and ultra MAGA. Make America great again. Should not just be something that can be derided by people who apparently don't want to make America great again. But that's exactly what they're doing. Ultra MAGA. These damn people believe in the Constitution. Huh. They think that we shouldn't have a $33 trillion national debt. These people actually believe, because this government shutdown is going to curtail the very important work of the EPA, these people actually think they should be able to build a pond on their property and replace the ditch that every time it rains water runs through with an actual bit of wetlands, and thus destroy the wetlands that they want to put a pond on. Can't do it. Excuse me? Do ducks swim in the rivulet of water in the middle of the ditch? Oh, no. Do they swim on ponds? Oh, yeah. So which is more effective wetland? It doesn't make any difference. We've declared that a wetland, and you can't do anything with it. By the way, the fines for the couple that I'm referencing got up to $680,000 before they were set aside, thanks to the Trump administration. No, it's democracy. Democracy. When people are silent, democracy fails. When they fail to stand up or condemn threats to democracy, well, that's exactly what they're doing, and they're getting investigated by the FBI under your watch, Mr. President. So tell me again about that threat to democracy. That gets back to your leftist, crazy, progressive nonsense of accuse your enemy of what you are doing, isn't it? That juvenile academic crap that came out of the 60s. Yeah, that leftist radical thing that you've been exploiting all these years because you, of course, didn't want to be a leftist radical. You just wanted to be able to make money off of it. And, of course, that's what you're doing. And you're getting caught on that too, huh? So, Mr. President, I understand you're making grave statements about your political opponent, but do us a favor. Leave us out of it, because we are democracy. We, the people of the United States, are democracy. You are discussing democracy. And that is something that is beneath the people of the United States. Which is another problem if you're trying to get reelected. You know, where are you going to find those 81 million votes this time? That's going to be really tough, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to be tough. But you might be able to pull it off, huh? Yeah. The Wells Report in progress. Back with more.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. There is a country music artist out there that I have long admired. I've sung some of his songs, in fact, because he's a baritone. So these squeaky tenors. Yeah.
Hi, I'm John Denver.
I know that's an old one. Well, let's see if I can come up with one that's more up to date. Anyway, yeah, he's a baritone and he sounds really, really good, and his name is Toby Keith. Toby Keith got the People's Choice Country Icon Award. As a matter of fact, it happened last night. He is an amazing human being, and his art and his songs have certainly at least demonstrated the idea that they will long pass the test of time. Anyway, he's also battling stomach cancer, and that disease has taken a lot out of the man. But he is still standing. He got the Icon Award last night at the Grand Ole Opry.
Bet y'all never thought you'd see me in skinny jeans. I want to thank the Almighty for allowing me to be here tonight. He's been riding shotgun with me for a little while. I want to thank my beautiful families here. A lot of people go in and making a big career like this of 30 years. My manager, T.K. Kimbrell, Kurt Motley, Brian O'Connell, Elaine Schock, the band and the crew, and everybody that's all behind this thing. All the great musicians that have played on all of these albums in the studios. They've poured their heart and soul into what I do. And most of all, I want to thank the fans for still allowing us to do what we do. So God bless y'all. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
The great Toby Keith. And he then played for the assembled crowd. The guy who sang "I Should Have Been a Cowboy" attended the event at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee, with his wife, Trisha Lucas, performed "Don't Let the Old Man In." That was a song that was both inspired by Clint Eastwood. That's one of his longtime statements. He's in his 90s, Clint Eastwood is, in his 90s. And says, people ask him, how do you keep going? He goes, I don't let the old man in. Well, the great Toby Keith wrote a song on that and then sang it for the Clint Eastwood film The Mule in 2018. He thought that it was appropriate. He said it was the right thing. And he was right. So Toby, for the sake of his disease, said, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm about another 8 weeks from my last scan, so I expect next time I look for that tumor to be even less. I've got only one that's shown up. He told the Daily Oklahoman that, part of the USA Network, in an exclusive interview in June. Basically, everything is in a real positive trend. You never know with cancer, so you have to prepare. But my goal is I feel better. I've got more wind. He is dedicating his musical career throughout this battle with cancer. His upcoming album, Songwriter, a collection of 13 originally written hits from his career, will be released on November 3rd. And so there you have it. Toby Keith, an Icon Award winner. And nothing could be more appropriate because he surely is an icon. What I find distressing as time goes by is that we're losing these amazing artists. As you know, I started my radio career when I was 15 years old. And throughout the decades, beginning in the 70s, 80s, 90s, I played the greatest music ever recorded by anyone, including Toby Keith. Now, that being said, I also mentioned that we're going to be losing these amazing icons, and we have. Jeff Beck, all those guys. You know, even from my band, Pink Floyd, et cetera, these people are aged now. They are dealing with the realities of an older life. And some of those, like Toby Keith, who is struck by this disease, this stomach cancer, long before he should have been, is bravely fighting on. And hopefully they will find a cure to keep this guy going. One of the most amazing songs that he ever did was American Soldier. And for those of us who spend a great deal of our time, especially in the, shall we say, unrewarded from a standpoint of money, reserve part of the United States military, that was one of those songs that paid us, because it talks about the realities of being a soldier. Toby Keith, to my knowledge, never was, but he sure hit that one right out of the park, because it means a lot to those people that serve not for money, but serve because the country's worth it. Our neighbors are worth it. And in that speech, he pointed out his version of that concept by saying, I want to thank the fans. I also appreciated the fact that Toby Keith referenced God and said that God has been riding shotgun with him for a while. That's a beautiful statement. But then again, he makes beautiful statements in beautiful music. But yeah, Toby Keith. He sure could use your prayers. And with any luck at all, we'll be able to get him through this, and he'll be able to sing with us or for us for a very, very long time. I can hardly wait to see what Toby Keith comes up with next. So hang in there, Toby. Prayers for you today, I promise. The executive producer of the Wells Report is Dirk Steele. He lives in Denver, Colorado, and Dirk Steele is a guy who did a lot of work this week. Believe me, doing all those videos after the second GOP Republican debate, that was a tough situation, and I want to thank him for all the work he did this week. Our associate producer and our publicist is Jude Dankworth. Find her at netmediaconsultants.com. I am John David Wells. Thanks very much for watching this week's worth of The Wells Report. See you Monday. All right. Oh, my goodness, golly gracious. Let's see, go to another meeting. So probably, yeah, okay. Communists. Yeah, Gary, they are communists. RFK Jr. is not a serious candidate, not a threat to Biden or any of the GOP candidates. Oh, yeah? I wonder why. Gee, I wonder if that's true. You know, I sure would like to see him debate Joe Biden. Would you, Chris? Would you like to see him debate Joe Biden? Well, I sure would. Let's see. Did Toby Keith serve in the military? You might wonder if Toby Keith is known for his patriotism. He did serve. Okay. He's in 2018. He was asked about his service during Rolling Stone or in the Rolling Stone. I got a letter from my draft board saying they were going to call me. I got married the same day, enrolled in school the next day. They finally called me after a month or so. I told him I was in school, let me finish my final year of high school online while I finished my 6 weeks of basic training. Although he did not enlist until right before he turned 26 years old, which is later than most men are able to join, Toby went on to achieve the rank of E4 as a member of the Army National Guard. He joined up at a time when he'd already started his music career and says that being in the service helped him mature as a person. So there you go. He was in the United States military, and he was in the reserve component, which is why he speaks to all of us in the reserve component so beautifully and so well. See that Dirk guy that just, the executive producer, he just sent me that. Thank you, Dirk. I appreciate it. There you go. So God bless you and yours, and take good care. Have yourself a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you again on Monday for another edition of the Wells Report. See ya.